Okay, so yeah, we've got a leak and it appears that it's coming from the water pump. I've gone underneath and checked. I really can't show that because it's a little awkward here, but I can see that it's clearly coming from the water pump. So I'm just going to open the covers up first before we do anything too major and just confirm my suspicions. I've checked the pipes at the bottom, but nothing is leaking, and it is coming in between the covers, the cover over here from the top. So it's highly likely that it's got to do with the water pump. So I'm just going to open up and see what we can figure out. So next we're going to be doing a couple of things before we start. The number one thing we need to do is we need to drain all the coolant out of the system, and obviously make sure that the vehicle has cooled down very much. So it shouldn't be hot. You don't want to drain out hot coolant. Make sure the coolant is cool and the engine is cool so that you can work very comfortably. So first thing we're going to do is to drain that out, and I'm not going to go into filming that in this video because I'm going to cover that in another video. But basically what you want to do is at the bottom you'll see there's like a drain plug on your radiator. You're going to start there. You're going to drain out all of your coolant from there to start with, because we need to drain out as much coolant as possible, because inside this engine there's a huge amount of coolant, and even once you've drained it out there will still be some coolant inside the engine. So we want to get out as much as possible now, so that when we remove the water pump, you'll see that more coolant will come out, and it's quite a considerable amount that's still going to come out. It's probably almost 2 liters. So you don't want to have the entire amount of coolant coming out at you when you're busy with the water pump. So best to drain it out now. We're going to remove our plug wire as well, and also take out our spark plug from the number 1 cylinder. That's going to make things a lot easier. Ideally you can, or should, if you don't feel comfortable, you can take out all of the spark plugs, and that will make the engine very easy to turn when you're busy at the bottom. But I find it fine to just work with the 1 spark plug that comes out. We're going to remove the battery negative terminal. Always remember to do that before you start any work on your engine. Make sure that that is removed, and yeah, we're going to take it from there. So let's get started. The negative terminal of your battery. Something else you can also do is to put some of this silicone paste onto the terminals. That will also prevent corrosion of the terminals. Very good moisture barrier for all your electrical connections, and rubber to metal, or metal to any, or rubber to any part of the actual vehicle. Good to use some silicone paste. Now that our box is off and we've exposed the top cover, we're going to just go and take off the spark plug, number 1 cylinder here. This is the number 1 cylinder. We're going to take that spark plug out, and we're just going to get our engine up to top dead center, and you'll see how we're going to do that now. We've got to loosen this bolt here to take this pulley off, and in order to secure or to hold this pulley, we're going to use one of our tools to hold it in place, and then we're going to use a correct socket and breaker bar to loosen this crankshaft bolt here. Good thing about the breaker bar, makes the life very easy when it comes to loosening these nuts. Well, this nut only gets torqued up to 55 Newton meters. Still, it can be quite a difficult nut to loosen if you don't have the proper tools. So it's good to have your tool that can actually hold this pulley, and then you can loosen this. First thing I'm going to do is, for now, I'm just going to loosen up my tool here. I'll put it back again later on. Let's take this off, and we're going to go up to the top. So we're going to go and turn the engine at the top. What I'm going to do, so carefully insert the screwdriver into the cylinder and just leave it there. Don't do anything harsh, don't push in a big or sharp screwdriver, just gently put it in and leave it there. This is the crankshaft pulley. And I'm just going to rotate the engine. What you'll see is we've got a mark here. This mark was lined up with a mark on top of the cover. Our screwdriver will come to the top. If that happens, then we basically at the top dead center. So turn the engine, but at the same time hold the screwdriver so that it doesn't get wedged or stuck inside the cylinder. Just slowly turn up. Keep an eye on your screwdriver. Mine's not moving yet. It's starting to move on this side of the screwdriver. And we're just going to line up that marks. Carefully do this, don't force it. My piston is at the top now, and I'm going to line this mark up and that mark so that we can be sure. Just a little bit of a turn. Yeah. Now we're at top dead center on our first piston. If you come this side, you will see that our first piston is at the top. The screwdriver has come out completely to the top with the first piston. Here's our pulley. It's loose. If we look inside here, what we'll see is that we'll see that this gear at the bottom, this crank gear, we'll see that this mark here is like there's a little arrow there. That arrow must be in line with this notch here. I've covered this in my videos prior to this, and as we can see, it's lined up with that notch there. So now we know that our timing is in the right position. So before we do any work on taking off the receiver covers, we want to ensure that this gear of the crank gear at the bottom and the camshaft gear at the top in the correct marks. They may go out of position, but that doesn't matter. We can fix that later on because we know where the marks must be. But I like to start with the actual marks in place. So it just limits, the bit of work that we've got to do. We're going to loosen the rest of the cover nuts, which is this one here. And I believe that there is one on top here. We can't see him right now, but I think that there is still one at the top. We're going to loosen those nuts, and then we're going to remove this cover. This cover will come off now, and then we'll have access to our water pump. Getting these clips out are very tricky. Best to use a small little screwdriver and a bit of elbow grease. That's going to be the best thing. Okay guys, there we go. Our cover is off. It was a piece of cake, or maybe not, but yeah, there's your cover. Keep these covers in a safe place. Don't let them lie around, because when they break they cost a lot of money to replace. We're removing the tensioner now. That's the serpentine valve tensioner, and this is what it looks like. The tensioner there, it's got a bolt through the middle, and yeah, that's it. Our next step is we're going to have to loosen the tensioner at the bottom, and I have covered the loosening and tightening of the tension in my other videos. So if you want to have a look at that, please go and visit my YouTube page, Solve It, and you will find the videos there. This tensioner we're going to loosen. We're going to put slack into the timing belt, and then we're going to loosen up all the bolts on the water pump. This is the water pump that's sitting here. I'm going to go down to the bottom in a second just to show you from there. And here we have our bottom view. That's the water pump sitting up there, just above the tensioner. And if we look closely, I don't know if I'll be able to zoom it close enough, but if we look closely, we can see there's moisture coming out somewhere at the back of the water pump there, and that's not good. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to loosen the tensioner, and just going to hold on to the mounting and just loosen the tensioner. This is one of those bolts that you don't want to loosen and tighten too much, so let's hope for the best. Yeah, there he goes. So that wasn't too bad. It's got a very little torque on it, but they tend to strip very easily. And yeah, my tensioner is loose. It's actually moving. So guys, we've loosened up the tensioner now. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to move the tensioner out of its position. I'm going to release the tension on the timing belt. And for that we use an Allen key. So something that I forgot to mention right at the beginning, and I'm sure I'll include this clip there. I will make sure that I mention it then, but if I missed it, then this is the next thing. Make sure that at the bottom of your vehicle that you've got a bowl underneath, so that it's going to catch any excess water that's going to come out there, because there's definitely going to come out some water right now, and you want to catch that. You don't want it going all over the floor. So we're taking out our screws right now, and the water pump is ready to come out. So this is the water pump over here. There we go. That's the water pump sitting here, and a lot of water is going to come out. There we go. Here we have our old water pump that has come out now, and if I look at it, it appears that the water has actually come out from the back here. I'm not quite sure what that is or what happened there, but also if I look at the water pump itself, seems to have suffered a little bit of damage here. I'm not sure what has caused that. Possibly that has caused the failure of the water pump. It could also just be the age. This is the original water pump that comes with the vehicle, and also the new water pump, which is this one here. That is the new water pump. That water pump, as you can see, it's in a much better condition. What we're just going to do is, the old one had an arrow on it which pointed in a certain direction. If you look in our previous videos, you'll see that I've mentioned where that arrow goes. Now this one doesn't have it on, but it's got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark him. Look where that one is. I'm going to mark this one. I'm going to mark this one somewhere over here. Make sure that you can remember its opposition, or in this case take a complete video of what you're doing, so you can go back to your steps and actually see what happens. Okay, here we go with installing the water pump, and it's not very easy to film this. It's quite difficult actually, and if you guys are doing this, you'll have to find your own way getting this in and down to the bottom, but once you're to a certain point, that's it, you're in. Doing that, just going to push it in. Put this in. Our water pump is now fully installed, tightened up. Now the tensioner, adjusted the tensioner right now. So we've done the adjustment of the tensioner, and I featured this in a previous video as well, so I'll link it at the bottom of this video so you can have a look and see where I did the actual how the tension actually works and how it goes, how you should install it and how you should set it. But in this case now we're done basically. Now all we need to do is check the timing marks are still lined up. If we look carefully, we can see it's definitely still lined up. Here at the bottom, our timing mark there is still in line, and if we come to the bottom, not so easy to see on the camera, but it is lined up. We're just going to fit all the covers now. That shouldn't take too long, and then we're going to put some water in and we're going to start up the engine. The cam bolt, which in this case we're going to talk to 55 Newton meters. I'm going to put on some Loctite. You don't need a lot, just a little dab like that should do. Some people put on liters of Loctite, and if you ever try to loosen the wrong grade of Loctite or even the right grade, it's very difficult. So the way we do this, you'll see there's a keyway here. That keyway corresponds with this key here. This is the keyway, and that's the key there. And if you look, earlier on I marked my cam belt, at least I marked my cam shaft on top where the timing belt was, and down at the bottom I've marked the timing belt with the corresponding notch in the sprocket, and it's aligned in the proper way. So just another little something you can do at a later stage. I think before we put this on, we're just going to do a little bit of a clean up here quickly. Get that all back. Unfortunately, I couldn't film everything as I wanted to because my battery died, and on the camera, unfortunately these things happen. But we've installed everything now again. I've got a few more minutes of charge. I'll drive it for a day or two and see where we're at, and just revisit the actual pump and see if it's still in order. Okay guys, so everything has been put back. Water pump is working 100%. No leaks on the water pump. I've actually driven the vehicle for quite some time, and I see there's absolutely no leaks on the water pump. The coolant level is also an indication of what's actually happening, and that has remained exactly there where it is at the moment for the last couple of days. So that's a good indication that your coolant is not escaping anywhere. Guys, please like our videos, and please subscribe, and I would love to hear your comments, and I hope this video has been beneficial for those of you who are thinking of embarking on changing your water pump. And remember that this is just a basic series of what you can do. If I'm going to go into more details in my videos as we go on, but for now I'm just keeping it very simple and just trying to get to the basic way of doing things. So hope to see you in my next video soon.